Alright, we're live. Sorry about that one, we're a few minutes late, but it is indeed MMA Day, and everybody be celebrating. Sorry about that, guys, we had a few little technical hiccups. What are we at? 10 minutes behind, but that's okay, because we are here. I am here with you, as I am, every Wednesday afternoon. We're going to talk about all things MMA, we're going to talk about all things combat sports. I'm just going to talk, you get to listen, wherever you listen to this on in your car. If you're streaming it live, that's sick as. If you're watching it, if you listen to it, maybe tomorrow, my time, catching in, cruising along, seeing what's going on. That is very cool as well. My name's Dave, as always. You can get me on Twitter, at DaveMMYay. And I'm the chief content contributor for MMA.com. So any questions, hit me up on Twitter. As comments down in the YouTube section as well. Love to hear from you. Love to see what's going on. As it is Yay Day. Alright, I have an awesome show as always. Got heaps of shit to cover. We had Fight Night 96, which is Lineker and Dodson. That was on the weekend. That was an event that was just absolutely plagued with fighters not making weight, and just some general silliness there. We've also got UFC 204 is this weekend. That's right, that account. Michael Bisping is taking on Dan Anderson. Gegard Mousasi is finally going to fight Vitor Belfort in a fight that has been put off, but we're gonna get it now, so that's exciting. More shit's coming up from UFC 205. I mean, Eddie Alvarez still trying to take the high road, I suppose, whereas McGregor's never actually ever been on the high road his entire life. We've got lots of stuff. Since I last spoke to you, Jose, because if you recall, last podcast was directly after the UFC 205 press conference. Pretty much almost as soon as I finished streaming to you last week, Jose Aldo came out and he said he wants out of the UFC. So we'll have a look at that one. That's been one of the biggest stories of the week. Well, especially if you're an Aldo fan. Yeah, so we'll get into all of that. But first thing to kick off the show, if you were hanging out on the YouTube page waiting for this to go live, maybe you missed out. MMA Junkie, they've just broken the news that the BJ Penn is out of Fight Night 97. Fight Night 97, that was the one that was in Manila. So yeah, he's out again. So not sure what's going on there. So it was just literally broken. Who broke that one? John Morgan, the chief editor for MMA Junkie. So he would have probably been on the front lines for that. So yeah. So the UFC Philippines is the fight night that's directly following UFC 204. Which is on this weekend. That was going to be headlined by BJ Penn and Ricardo Lamas, the Llama. But BJ Penn, they haven't actually said what is injured. I'm sure that'll come out pretty. Maybe BJ Penn's actually saving that for BJPenn.com. That's probably worth checking out. But this was his this is his comeback fight after he got done for not reading the book and realizing that he can't rehydrate with an IV anymore. Which I know was a little bit strange because that was his first fight where he was rehydrating with the IV. He hadn't fought since they brought the law in. Brought the rule in. Yeah, but that's the rules be rules, eh? So he was out for 6 months. And he was going to come back. It was a weird. It was kind of weird to begin with that the fight's going to be in the Philippines, and this is what BJ Penn's going to take. I would have thought myself that BJ Penn is probably a bigger draw than a Fight Pass only event, which UFC Fight Night 97 in the Philippines is. But that's the fight I wanted to take. fighting against Ricardo Lamas. That is no slump. And if we go down a little bit further and actually outline what the card is, I mean, we've got Ricardo Lamas versus opponent to be advised. Is it too late to find an opponent? I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody. There's probably definitely a Filipino out there that's been hoping that something's gonna fall out from this card and get into it. So we've also got the Black Beast Derek Lewis. He's going to take on Marcin Tybura. So that means there are some cool fights. Cole Miller's on there as well. Smiling Sam Alvey is fighting for like the 50th time this year. John Tuck's on there. All these really cool guys that tend to fight on these Asian cards. And then you got Ali Puncher Bagaltinov fighting Horiguchi. So it is a cool card. But now we have lost BJ Penn. It's a big question of who's going to replace that. Who's going to take that? Is Derek Lewis versus Marcin Tybura going to be the new main event, and we're just going to scrap the bout? I mean, because John Morgan says it's a little over a week. It's not actually a little over a week. We've got about a week and a half, and I'm pretty sure anyone who's been hanging out and anyone who's keen to fight in the UFC is going to be happy to make their debut. The only question is, do you want to make your debut against Ricardo Lamas? So even if that fight goes ahead, unless they can find someone similar, but there's no one around. I mean, the problem is it's the main event, so the UFC are going to want to try and find someone to replace that fight, because that's what they've been selling it on. But it's happened before, and it's happened with much bigger cards as well. So the world just continues to move on with that one. But that's the big news. So that was what I wanted to break straight off to you, because if you've been missing out, and you might have been missing out, and that might have been my fault, because you might have tuned in at midday and I haven't got on till like 10 past. But that's not my fault. Well, it is my fault, but it's not, because it was technical problems, so we fixed that. So that's all cool. But yeah, so that's the big news for the day. I mean, there's lots of stuff going around, and I kind of want to maybe we could talk about this now and get it out of the way. Two fighters in the last couple of days there's been allegations of domestic abuse. Jules the Jackal, who is a fellow countryman of mine, he's the Australian guy. I'm not sure if you know him. I probably should have got a photo, but yeah, he's the guy. He's got tats all over his face and all that kind of jazz, and he fights for XFC in Australia. I think he lost his last fight, to be honest. I don't even know if that card's come out yet, but yeah. So he fights on that card. I think he's a hairdresser kind. I think he's a barber by trade. So yeah, that is what it is. There we go. That is Jules the Jackal. Can we zoom in? We can zoom in. So yeah, so that's Jules the Jackal. He's actually been tied to Ashley Adam Smith, I think, lately. So that's really strange. But it's been alleged. I guess it's not alleged anymore, because he was convicted of he basically, his missus brought home the wrong dinner for him, and he thumped her. But then the story gets really weird, because he's got her in a chokehold, and then she gets out and then kicks him in the head. So I'm not really sure how. But anyway, he's been found guilty. So he's going to be he's up for sentencing in December. So XFC have pulled out. They've said he's no longer a contracted fighter with them. That's what happens. I mean, MMA is a brutal sport, and we struggle a lot to try and get acceptance among the wider community. And when everyone's saying that all these fighters are thugs and that they're no good, and then people come out and commit such cowardly kind of heinous crime. I don't know. It is a crime. I shouldn't say, because it's an act. It's awful. You know, domestic abuse is not acceptable in any stretch of the imagination. But when you're a trained killer and you get paid to fight and beat the shit out of people, you probably should. You know, the idea of martial arts and discipline is having discipline. You know, they should never be hitting anyone, let alone a woman, let alone their spouse. But that happened. And just to add to it, Brandon Graves has come out and he's in trouble now. So he's been pulled off. He's been pulled off the UFC 100 Brazil card. That's the card that's going concurrently with another card as well. He was meant to be fighting Sergio Moraes, sorry. But apparently he in the car earlier this week he's struck and he's punched and elbowed his partner in the car. So he's pulled out too. UFC doesn't want to comment. He hasn't been available for comment either. So I mean, the difference between this one and Jules the Jackal, is the Jules the Jackal, which is a stupid fucking name anyway. So it's Michael Graves, not Brendan Graves. I'm losing the plot. He's been found guilty, so there's no whatever. He could actually do probably jail time for that one. So we can comment on that one. I'm not too worried about that one. But Michaal Graves we're innocent until proven guilty. The weird thing is this is from MMA Fighting too. As always, I'll link like everything in the comments down in the YouTube thing and on MMA.com. So if you're just listening to this and you want to see them, or if you watch it, because I just kind of scroll through, I don't really get too deep into it, and you want to actually read the article, if you haven't read it, then you can do it. So he was arrested earlier this week. I think it was on the weekend. So and the UFC, I mean, they're pretty quick. With the Travis Brown stuff was going down, which who knows what's going on with that Travis. I mean, I think that Travis Brown stuff's been dropped now, hasn't it? So we can move on, but he can't get rid of that stigma. So that's also the worrying thing is with something like with Michael Graves is if he hasn't actually done what they're saying he's done, then it's no good because it's going to tarnish. It tarnishes everything he's doing for the rest of his career now. So I was writing an article. I didn't publish it. I might still publish it. And it was about Travis Brown, and is he the most hated man in MMA at the moment? I think he is. Like no one likes him. No one wants to see him win. He hasn't won in like fucking 4 fights anyway. No one gives a shit. He allegedly belted the shit out of his wife, then allegedly moved on to Ronda Rousey. I don't think he belted her though. I think she'd to be honest, I think she'd give him a belting. But there's just a lot of this domestic abuse stuff. So I just wanted to touch on it and see what's going on. I mean, I don't think anyone condones it. I don't think anyone ever reckons that this kind of stuff is right. But it's just it just seems to be spiraling out with the Jules the Jackal starting kicking it off. And he's up for sentencing in December, so he's definitely going to be. He's definitely been convicted of that one. And then Michael Graves coming out as well. It's a bit of a sad time, and we don't also want fights being cancelled for this. So that would have been that could have been a good fight, but we can't have people who carry themselves in that manner fighting, especially in the number one fighting organisation in the world, let alone XFC banning the Jackal as well. So so that's a bit of a downer, but we can go right back up now because Fight Night Lineker Dodson, whilst it was marred with a bunch of fighters not being able to make weight, we had some action. The Lineker Dodson fight was obviously by far was the fight of the night, and I think the UFC even went so they wanted everyone to know that was the fight too, because when they've done the fight of the night bonus, they didn't give a fight of the night bonus because obviously John Lineker was not eligible for fight of the night because he missed weight, which is something completely crazy again, simply because why is Dodson missing it? Dodson's now 50 grand poorer. I mean, he for no fault of his own. His opponent couldn't make weight. John Lineker has no excuse not to be able to make weight anymore. It's 135. He's not a big dude. He's probably my height. He might be shorter than I am. I mean, I don't make 135 on the regular, but I am also not a professional fighter. But he for him not to be able to do that, we say it again and again. It's really cliched, but it's your job. You got to do two things leading up to a fight. You've got to make weight, and then you got to win. It's not enough to just to win, because if you haven't made weight, then who gives a fuck? And I think this is really important. We see it again and again. We saw it on the card last week as well. When people aren't making weight and they get the win, it's kind of like, well, what's the point? It was whoever didn't make weight. I think it was Michael Parzeras who defeated Gilbert Burns by a unanimous decision, but he just he didn't make the weight, so he blew out, and it's not the way to win. And even if you win, you lose. But the big thing is Dodson's now. Dodson loses out on 50 grand because it was clearly the fight of the night. So then what the UFC have done? So for the performance of the night for Fight Night Lineker Dodson, they've given out 4 performances of the night rather than the fight of the night, which makes sense. Brandon Moreno, awesome submission victory over Lewis Smolka in the first. I mean, I don't think anyone saw that. That was some really slick fucking grappling right at the top level there. Luis Henrique da Silva. Okay, yep, that was a snazzy submission. One of the highlights on the card for the finish. Nate Marquette. Always good to see Nate Marquette get back on, and the problem is that Nate Marquette was fighting Tandon McCrory. Actually, I'll finish saying how good I thought Nate Marquette looked, and then I'll go and shit on the Barncat. And then Curtis Blades beat Cody East with elbows. Who cares? I don't know why that was worth 50 grand, but I suppose they had to do. I don't know. I don't know if the UFC actually has to give away all 200 grand for the bonuses. Maybe they don't, but it would see that maybe they do, because Curtis Blades' fight sucked. It was a high pace heavyweight fight. Okay, that's cool, but that sucked. It wasn't very good. And it's just another Dana White looking for a fucking fight that comes in on the UFC Fight Pass prelims and fills that slot. So Curtis Blades now, he obviously moves on. And I think he's got a couple in a row now. So but why are these guys having to go through these regional promotion guys? Maybe Dana White looking for a fight should be Dana White looks for fighters. He goes, yeah, cool, you can fight. And then maybe we follow them and then they fight again in a regional promotion. Or, and then we can follow them and we can see their progress. And then maybe they don't even make it to the UFC. I mean, it's not the happy story, but that's TV. I get really invested in Cody East. I think Cody East is the best dude ever. I watch it, and then he's training really hard, and then the UFC brings in some of the best trade. Maybe they send him out to see Winklejohn. Maybe they go and do that kind of stuff, and then he fights again, and then he loses, and then we're like, fuck. I really wanted Cody to get up, and then it's like, oh, my dreams of being in the UFC will never come true, and maybe they shouldn't, because you were shit. And you need to be winning consistently at the regional level. And you should win probably every fight at the regional level. At least 4 or 5. And then you go into the UFC. And then you're fighting other regional guys in the UFC before you kind of climb. Doing the unranked stuff. Rather than, I was on TV. And so now I get frustrated. Granted, it was a Fight Pass. It was a Fight Night card on the Fight Pass prelims. But, I mean, I watched it. Fucking other people are watching it. Tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people, are watching these fights. And we're continually watching dudes who aren't prepared. I mean, with CM Punk, actually, with Sage Northcutt. I mean, he's shown that he can fight and that kind of stuff. But he hasn't shown to be real slick. I mean, and I think that's why it is. That it is a great fight for him to take on what's his name? Who was the guy who fought CM Punk? I can't believe I've forgotten that. Oh wow. Mickey Gall. Shit. Sorry, that was a big mind blowing. So that's why, I mean, Mickey Gall, he's come up and he got to beat CM Punk, and he had that other victory in the UFC, which was 1 minute or something less, another rear naked choke. And then you got Sage Northcutt, he lost by going up in that weight, and then he tapped out with that weird head and arm choke. But he went down again. He's won, and doesn't look that good. But I think I'm rambling here. But what I'm trying to say is none of these guys look very good. And because the UFC want to do a YouTube show, like I don't know, because maybe they see how successful these YouTube shows are. They want to cash in. They want to get in on this action. I mean, I wouldn't blame them. Fucking, don't you want to be just like me? Don't you want to be doing fucking MMA.com? And I just get on here and I talk shit for an hour. I can say whatever the fuck I want, which is very different to UFC Unfiltered, but that's a conversation for another time. Anyway, but so they've got their TV show, and now Nick the Tooth's fallen out, and there's all this fucking shit. It's just all drama. And what we've got, the big thing is we've got these fighters coming up, and we've now got 3 of them. It's probably 4. I've stopped watching data looking for a fight. I probably should catch up so I know who's who. But you got Cody East, you've got Mickey Gall, and you've got the original from the first looking for a fight, which is Sage Northcutt, who is just not very convincing. He's got some really nice facial features. He's got a very solid, steady jaw. He's got that spiky kind of blonde hair, very cool. His sister's like a bodybuilder too, and she fights, and it's all fucking on in that household. But like, who gives a fuck? So let's do it. I want to see, and I mean, this is not an original thought by any stretch of the imagination to see Sage Northcutt versus Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall suggested it to start with. Sage Northcutt said no. But then he said yes, he will do it. But now he has fucking staff for the 7th time as well. I think every time Sam Alvey fights, Sage Northcutt must get staff, because Sam Alvey's he's fought like 20 times this year, and Sage Northcutt's had it like 20 times. Now, that's not fun. And I think he had Mercer as well, which is our medication resistant staph, something or other, I think. I think that's like a really bad version of staph. But that's not the point. Like, where is this guy rolling? Why is he not cleaning his mats? Why is he still getting, like, once you get one staph infection, surely you're pretty keen to not get another staph infection. That might just be my thinking, but surely you're pretty keen just to once you clear it up, because you can't roll with anyone, you can't be with anyone. No one wants you to be around. You got to constantly clean the mats if you get on it, because it is super, 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 super contagious. So basically, you sit at home, you're not training, maybe you're rolling in your house, and then what do? Set your house on fire so you can burn it out. Fuck. But so it's these looking for a fight guys. They should fight. Maybe we'll do a 3-way. Maybe like do a triple threat match, like WWE style. I know. Cody used to be going with a big weight advantage. So maybe we kick him in the dick or something before he goes out, and then we see, and then we'll see how they fight. Because I mean that'll bring him down in. That'll bring him more down to the level of the other much smaller guys. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll just forget Cody East, and then maybe we just focus on the Mickey Gall and thanks guys. Thank you for liking. People are liking the Twitter. Sorry, I shouldn't be on Twitter while I'm talking with you, but I just wanted to check out what Cody East had said. But Mickey Gall versus Sage Northcutt. So I know we're not going on the fight. Do it at welterweight. But if we can't do it at welterweight, can Mickey Gall cut down to lightweight? It is a big drop at that point. It's not your 10 pounds. It's up to your 15. No, it's not. It's more than that. No, it is. It's 15. Sorry, my maths is terrible. Could he cut down to lightweight? I'm not sure. I think CM Punk could have probably cut down to lightweight too, but I don't know why. Welterweight obviously had a nice ring for him. So, anywho, so that were the bonuses. So what I've basically done is I have gone in a long circle. Oh, excuse me. I have gone in a massively long circle to basically say that John Dodson should still be able to get his UFC Fight Night bonus. even though John Lineker didn't make weight. But John Lineker wasn't the only one. And like, congratulations on John Lineker for getting that decision victory. It was quite close. I did give 3 rounds to Lineker, but regardless, this victory is marred. And for him to come out afterwards and go, oh, I've made one mistake, and this surely the fight should speak for itself, and why am I copying it and all this kind of shit. Well, you didn't make weight, mate. So what? If you don't make weight in a championship fight, the fight is not for the championship anymore. So why the fuck would we want to book you? Why the fuck would the UFC want to book you to potentially fight? Say it's Dominic Cruz. There's a very good chance it could be Dominic Cruz. And then you weigh in at 140 like you did fucking last time. Oh, I think he weighed in at 130.5. That's a bit harsh. But he has been over by quite a bit in the past as well. We've booked this as the Bantamweight Championship. We're all excited. Can John Lineker knock out Dominic Cruz? Probably not, but we'll give it a go. And then, oh shit. And then if you're dumb enough, maybe he wins. Maybe John Lineker wins. And he knocks out Dominic Cruz. Lineker's got heavy hands. It can definitely happen. But it's not for the title, so who gives a fuck? And we just wasted all our time. So this is why you've made one accident and we care. Everyone cares. No, there's so many more deserving fighters. Really interestingly, you start to look at what fights we're going to lead out of here. Like I don't know who Dodson fights next. Be interesting to see, and I know the rankings are pretty bullshit, but it's going to be really interesting to see where they actually move Dodson as far as the rankings, and that will make sense. That'll make more sense. But I mean, Lineker can probably line up against Caraway next. I think Caraway's actually suggested this himself over the last couple of days, because the top 2 or 3 is already tied up. Dominic Cruz is going to have to fight TJ Dillashaw next. Probably fight TJ Dillashaw next. But having said that, there's every chance that he could fight Cody No Love Garbrandt. Do I think Cody Garbrandt can beat Dominic Cruz at this point? No. No, I don't. Do I think TJ Dillashaw can beat Dominic Cruz? Absolutely. Of all of the rematches that we've seen in especially this last year, which has been absolutely riddled with rematches and requests for rematches, and I fucked up, I want another shot. One of the only real candidates for a rematch was Cruz Dillashaw. You can say Dillashaw won that fight. And there's a lot of people who will suggest that he won that fight. So when you have a situation where your decision is razor close like that, that's when we want to go to rematches, not Conor McGregor's butthurt after getting submitted in the second, and then wants to fight again. Cool, he came back and he won and he showed that he made a mistake. But if you make a mistake in fighting, that's it. That's kind of the game, and I think that's why it's so exciting in MMA, is because anything can happen. Even if you are well up on points, there's been a foul on the fence, you're down 10-7 in a round. If you can knock that other guy out, or you can knock that other girl out, then you can win that fight. And that's what makes MMA exciting. And that's why more and more people are coming around and more people are getting into this sport, is because of that excitement factor. But now when we go, oh, well, if you get clipped and it's unlucky, then you have to replicate it. No. Conor McGregor's wouldn't knock Jose Aldo out the same way he did in their first fight. It's not going to happen. It was a great punch, and it cracked him right on the jaw, and Aldo came in a really weird way to attack the fight. And we can see later on from Aldo's next fight, after he has a rest and he fights Frankie Edgar and he beats Frankie Edgar, Aldo really if he had been able to play exactly the same game that he played with Frankie Edgar and with McGregor, and he had that first round to really warm into it and really set out his reach, get his range going, start to establish a jab, do all these things that Aldo does really well when he's given a bit of time. The fight goes a different way. So Aldo doesn't get the rematch, even though under these rules he should, but he got knocked out, and he got knocked out in 11 seconds. So why would he get an instant rematch? And I understand him not getting an instant rematch, but he then had a chance. And I don't want to go. I want to talk a little bit more about Aldo a little bit later on in the show as I kind of work through my mental plan for how I want to talk about this, so it's not so convoluted. But Aldo had to prove himself again. He had to recheck himself, and I think he did. I think he definitely did beat Frankie Edgar. So that's very strange. But anywho, going back to John Lineker and these rematch stuff. So I was saying Cruz versus Dillashaw. If there was any fight to make the rematch immediately, if not, give Dillashaw another test, which Dillashaw had another test at UFC 200. Dillashaw had to. Dillashaw had to first watch. No, I didn't. I've got that all around the wrong way. TJ Dillashaw fought on the prelims, didn't he? Against Rafael Asankayo. And he did not. He beat him in a unanimous decision. That's right. Should have looked that up. Very interesting. So he's beaten him. Has TJ Dillashaw fought anyone else since he lost to Cruz? No. So he lost to Dominic Cruz, and then 6 months later he's come back to beat Rafael Asankayo. I should be able to say that. That's cool. So I mean, there's your immediate rematch, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's a rematch contender straight away. But so let that sort out. But I can definitely see the case of Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt has a lot of steam coming behind him. He's looking real good. He just keeps knocking people out, I suppose, is the big thing. And if you can keep knocking people out, then you're going to be dangerous. See, we all thought Dustin Poirier was gonna flatten Michael Johnson, and same with Derek Brunson versus Uriah Hall. But these guys, Michael Johnson hadn't knocked anyone out for a long time, but now he has, and we all have this belief. Derek Brunson knocked out the third bloke in the first round in 3 fights against Uriah Hall, who is dangerous. I mean, that spinning back kick on Gegard Mousasi, no one's gonna forget that one. But if you keep knocking people out, people care. And if you keep knocking people out and to get people to care, you're going to get title shots. And I can definitely see a case for the UFC giving Cody Garbrandt that shot. I can definitely see a case for them not to. And if you're Cody Garbrandt's camp, I don't think you want that. I don't think you quite want that shot yet. I think you take another fight, you have another shot, and you see how you go from there. Because none of them are booked, but then so the whole situation's kind of up. There are a lot of bantamweight fights on the UFC 204 card. Not any that are really going to make a massive difference on the rankings as they stand. But it's a constantly evolving, constantly moving, very exciting weight division. I say this all the time. I think bantamweight is probably the most exciting division. Featherweight is a really cool decision, but featherweight is being held to ransom by Conor McGregor, and I'm sick of people trying to make excuses for it because that's exactly what's fucking happening. If you don't want to defend your belt, then don't defend it. Hand it off. We're not going to say you've lost it, but if you want to fight for other belts, fight for other belts, because this is going to be his third fight outside of featherweight. And I mean, you can only start to suspect Conor McGregor doesn't want to make that weight cut anymore. Because why wouldn't he go back down? Or is he worried that that weight cut's going to diminish his abilities, and he likes the way he looks when he's when he's up at lightweight, when he's up at welterweight? I can't blame him. That cut for him is awful. Well, it looks awful. He looks like an AIDS patient when he weighs in. So I mean, I 100% get why he wouldn't want to make that weight, but because of that, the featherweight division is suffering. Poor old fucker Max Holloway hasn't been beaten in like a decade. The last time he lost was to Conor McGregor, and it was in a decision. And before that, the last Conor McGregor Diaz fight, McGregor that was his last decision as well. He'd been finishing everybody else, and now he's just hanging out in limbo too. I mean, Aldo's got the fake belt. Aldo's got the interim belt, but now Aldo wants to step away. Anyway, I'm going to get into Aldo. I'm going to get into that shortly. Actually, we might just keep going with that one. Hey, I might finish this thought. So, Aldo wants to get out. He wants the UFC to let him go. He's said that he doesn't ever want to fight anymore. There's no point fighting in another promotion because the UFC is the number one promotion, which we all agree with, I think. I mean, maybe the guys in Bellator think theirs, but I don't think. I think they'd be living in a strange mystery land if they thought that full of Scooby-Doos and shit. If they think that they've got the number one promotion, they don't have the number one promotion. But it's a very good promotion. But they don't have the number one promotion. I'm sure they would offer Aldo a dump truck full of cash, but it seems Aldo doesn't need the cash. I mean, Aldo looked like he was about pursuing a professional soccer career years and years before he got into fighting, and now he wants to get back and do that. Maybe he wants to manage. He said he can't play, but he can manage. So maybe if he doesn't care, all Aldo wants is that fight with Conor McGregor. And the UFC have fucked what was their champ. He came in as featherweight champion from WEC. And now he finally loses in like an awful, accidental, 1 in a million kind of punching, kind of knockout loss. And then when he wants to redeem himself, he doesn't get that. He doesn't get that opportunity. And the worst thing is, when he did redeem himself, and he's come in and he's fought Frankie Edgar. Everyone thought Frankie Edgar was probably the next one to fight Conor and all this kind of stuff. So they fought it out for the number one contenders championship, the interim championship, I suppose. But it's really it's a number one contenders belt, I suppose. And then Jose Aldo looks really good. And he wins. And he wins back that interim. So again, the only person who's beaten him in fucking light years is Conor McGregor. But he can't get that rematch. But McGregor can get the rematch with Diaz. It just seems very strange, and it's really weird. I 100% understand why the UFC are doing it the way they're doing it. The UFC is a business, much like Bellator is a business, much like any MMA organization is a business. But it's also a sporting organization. And one of the cool things about the UFC is because it's not wrestling, it's not scripted. When someone performs, they should get rewarded according to merit. And if anyone deserves some merit now more than ever, it's probably Aldo. But I think Aldo's done. I think he's cooked. I think he's gone. He doesn't seem interested anymore. Which is a shame, especially for a lot of fans who kind of came into that have only been here for the Conor period, I suppose, because really you only saw your only exposure to Jose Aldo if you've only got into fighting in the last couple of years, which I think a lot of the audience have. You've only ever seen the Aldo who got beaten by Conor McGregor, the Aldo who got stopped 10 seconds into the first round. So it's really hard to convince these guys about Jose Aldo, about how great he was. And they ignore that his extremely long period of holding the belt. I mean, he wasn't beaten for 10 years. They introduced he was the WEC champion, and then when the WEC came in, he was the UFC champion. And then he gets stopped by the Conor train. And I mean, Conor probably got in his head a little bit too and all that. But that's not really the point. When we have these rematches, I mean, how many times did he defend the UFC featherweight belt? It must have been... I reckon he must have defended it like 8 times. Because there was Kenny Florian, Chad Mendes, who else? Ricardo Lamas is there as well. Chad Mendes twice. Sorry, so he defended it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He defended it 7 times in the UFC. Plus another 4 times when it was the WEC belt. 3 times it was the WEC belt. I mean, Jose Aldo has. I think this is the sad thing too. Like, if we're gonna let Aldo go, he's a great candidate for the UFC Hall of Fame, for like a younger Hall of Fame. Because I mean, don't let this guy go away for 10 years and then we decide that he needs to come back, because he's just gonna disappear. He's just gonna say fuck it, I don't care. This guy has never had a fight on a fucking UFC fight night. Every fight he has had in the UFC has been on a numbered pay-per-view event. He's the real deal. He is the real fucking deal, and he has just got he's the real deal who's got a fucking raw deal, and he has. And I'm kind of over arguing this with everyone, because depending on who you are, who you're talking to, whether they're a Conor fan or whether they're an Aldo fan or whether they're an MMA fan, which I think I'm more an MMA fan. I think Jose Aldo is amazing. You know, you got to give credit where credit's due. But if you're blindly following Conor, and it's over the last couple of years, the UFC had 2 really good things going for them. They had Ronda Rousey, and then they had Conor McGregor. And it's almost like Ronda Rousey really built it up while Conor was almost there. For the smallest little period there, they had both of them. And then Rousey gets knocked out in Melbourne at UFC 193, which is almost a year ago. It's 11 months ago. And then McGregor's star keeps rising. Interestingly, McGregor gets stopped too, but he comes right on back. So one could say that was definitely the right attitude to have, and it's kept his star going. But anyway, these are the 2 things that have brought the UFC into households around the world, and I think that's awesome. There's more, there's more news now. There's more people interested. There's more money. When there's more money, we're going to have more events. It's going to be a lot more exciting. And for someone like me, doing journalism, and who's just a general fan as well, I mean, it makes the sport a lot more interesting, and it's great when you're down the pub and you're chatting with someone, and they go, "Oh, what are you into? What do you?" Questions about the UFC will come up, especially when they go, "Oh, what do you do?" You go, "Oh, I cover MMA." And I'll watch the UFC. I'll be watching the UFC on the weekend. I'll be like, "Oh, that's really cool. Oh, how about Conor McGregor?" And that's cool. Not a bad thing. If you only know Conor McGregor, you only know Conor McGregor. But at least you know something, and you know something more about the sport than you probably would have under another circumstance. So that's cool. But it does diminish the background, or the history of the UFC. I mean, the UFC is 22, 23 years old, and it's really easy to forget about everything that came before, and especially Jose Aldo. Like I hope you're kind of following along with what I'm saying, because if I'm talking fucking shit, hit me up on Twitter if you think I'm talking shit, because I'm happy to discuss it further. But Aldo was, until McGregor stopped him, was probably one of the greatest champions we'd had in the last few years. Forget Rousey, she was stomping girls that were not up to her class, and then as soon as someone started to excel, she's out of the game. But no, Aldo was a ledge. He beat all comers except for one, and the fact he can't get another shot at is just fucking ridiculous. And again, as I was saying, I'm not upset the UFC because I understand that they want that they're chasing the dollar, and that's a big thing for it. They need to keep this business going. Apparently, this business is worth $4 billion. No one can fucking see it, but apparently it's worth $4 billion. And Dana and Lorenzo and Frank, they don't give a fuck because they just got $4 billion. This new group now have to try and find it back. Apparently, I didn't even really look at it. I thought it was bullshit, but apparently it's not. Apparently, there are now celebrity investors. If you're just listening and not watching the screen, I did like the bunny ears because celebrity investors, very weird. That's not really what the UFC is about, hey? But the UFC is also not about CM Punk versus Mickey Gall. Although, if you listen to Ariel Helwani, and all respect to Ariel Helwani, I think he has some great insights into MMA. And I do get what he's saying when he goes, "Oh, this is what mixed martial arts is based on." Yeah, it was originally based on which style is better. This is what we're trying to find out. Can a sumo wrestler defeat a jiu-jitsu practitioner? Can karate beat taekwondo? Yep, that's cool, but it's not anymore. This is now a real sport where USA Today covers it. Where I'm in New Zealand at the moment, and the New Zealand Herald, which is a newspaper that's obviously in New Zealand, I think it circulates to 100,000 homes or something, and they reckon that's cool. They reckon that's big circulation. Even they cover the UFC, which is crazy because 10 years ago they would not have. So this is where the sport has moved to, and I mean I think we need to just keep our focus on that. We're evolving it, and the sport has come before, and it's no longer that freak show aspect. And Bellator are finding this too. I think they're getting a lot of blowback on those freak show fights, and I think you'll be seeing less and less of those fights, rather than more and more. I think going the way of Chael Sonnen versus Tito Ortiz is he's better, than trying to resuscitate Dada 5,000 to go and fight someone else again. And I mean, then again, rest in peace, Kimbo Slice, but that fight was ridiculous. That fight should have been cleared. And the worst thing is we find out afterwards that it probably shouldn't have been cleared because he was having major heart issues. So if you're having heart issues, probably the worst thing you can do is step into the cage and fight another man, especially when you're both quite out of shape. But regardless, that is what it is. So moving on to having seen Lineker beat Dodson and Caraway versus Lineker. So Caraway's last fight was against Aljamain Sterling. I will admit I didn't think he would beat Aljamain Sterling. Don't know if you did. Maybe you did. Maybe smarter than I did, but I just couldn't say. But I think it's really easy to write Brian Caraway off. I think Brian Caraway's been written off his whole career. And that's cool. But he's a quiet achiever. I mean, everyone just thinks of him as the dude who's fucking Misha Tate. But he just keeps plodding away, and he's currently ranked number 4 in the bantamweight division. So he's definitely up there. So he needs another big fight. And I think the winner of Lineker and Dodson is definitely a fight Caraway can have. Caraway versus Garbrandt would also be fucking sensational. If they're gonna go Cruz, they're gonna do Cruz versus Dillashaw. Maybe they do Caraway versus Garbrandt, and then whoever wins out of Caraway Garbrandt can take on the winner of Cruz and Dillashaw. And then the two losers can fight too. It's it's easy. There you go. That's easy matchmaking. I mean, Sean Shelby's not doing these smaller divisions anymore, but that's some easy matchmaking right there. That'd be interesting. The other thing about UFC Fight Night 96 that I wanted to talk about was Cowboy Oliveira, the Brazilian cowboy, he missed weight by 5 pounds, which is a lot of weight. 5 pounds, that's halfway. If you're in the lower weight divisions, like you're in featherweight or bantamweight or flyweight. £5 is half of that gap between the weight classes. Like that's a lot of. I know they were fighting at lightweight, so it's not quite halfway to bantamweight, but that's a lot of weight. That's a crazy amount of weight. And then we have a fight. Anyway, they fight. It's not a great fight. And then Cowboy manages to finish off Will Brooks, which okay, that was a definite possibility. I mean, Will Brooks was ranked really. I thought the fact that I think if you listened to the show last week, I surprised myself because I didn't realize he was ranked, and I think I found out he was ranked like 9th or something, which I get because he was the champion in Bellator, which is cool. But this is the UFC; it's completely different. He's had one fight, and he took that to a decision victory, and he did it very easy. I guess a first fight, warm-up fight, tune-up fight. But if you were the Bellator champion and you come to the UFC, do you not want to make a splash? I mean, I definitely would. And I think the thing is he didn't want to... He was trying to do it too easy against Cowboy as well. And I think he paid for it. But the fact that he was fighting someone who was much bigger than him. I think that's the first thing to talk about. There was a massive size difference. And that's the kind of size difference. If you bringing in an extra £5 because you're not making weight, and then we've got that extra 24 hours because we've got an early, because you've got the early weigh-ins now. So he's got over 24 hours probably to put on just a shit ton of weight. And it's a lot more weight than where, someone like Will Brooks, he's done the right thing. He's cut the weight. He's cut down. And now he's going to pay for it. I mean, there's no IVs anymore, so there's no way you can quickly balloon up anymore. But if you're coming in and you're 5 pounds heavier, then you could exacerbate that out by a lot. He could have easily been 25 pounds heavier than Will Brooks at that point. I mean, he ballooned up because he hadn't lost all that water. He wasn't dehydrated. He wasn't suffering any of the effect. His fatigue levels were going to be a heap lower than Will Brooks's were purely because he didn't have to cut the weight. He cut down to probably what was slightly uncomfortable. Will was probably cut down and he probably felt like he was dying. Most of these guys do feel like they're dying because they're cutting too much weight. Should they be cutting weight? I don't know. It's a conversation for another time. I know some people like it, some don't. That's not what I'm here to talk about. That's not what I'm here to argue at the moment. It was simply unfair. And then for Oliveira to carry on with these fucking crotch chopping and all this bullshit, which, by the way, I don't think Will Brooks got any of because he doesn't speak Portuguese. But that's fine. It's just fucking ridiculous. I'm like, why are we tolerating this from Charles Oliveira? What has Charles Oliveira done lately? Why is he still in the? He was a punching bag for Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone moved up in weight to fight him at 170. And then it's just, I just don't think it's. I get it. Everyone again. This is the Conor effect. And I apologize if it feels like I'm just paying out alcohol. I'm not paying. I am. I think Conor's a great fighter. I think he's also he dominated the featherweight division, and if he had done it the right way, he'd probably be able to dominate the lightweight division too. And there's a good chance that he can beat Eddie Alvarez next month. But he's also brought in all this precedent for this bullshit. If you win, be happy, celebrate, gracious in victory, gracious in defeat. If that's not your personality, that's cool. But don't be fucking putting all this on and being a nasty competitor when you have done the wrong thing. That's like there's nothing to compare not making weight because there's no other, he hasn't made his obligation yet. He's then used that to his advantage, which you could almost consider cheating. And then he's celebrating that he's cheating, even though we all know he's cheating. It's not like if you cheat at blackjack and then you win a fuckload of blackjack, you're like, yeah, I won all the blackjack, and no one knows. Everyone thinks that you've done it legit. No one thought he'd done that legit. We all knew he hadn't done it legit. And he's carrying on like a fucking 2-bob watch. But that's what it is. And then the interesting thing will be to see how the UFC reacts to that, because £5 is a lot. £5 is... You could definitely drop someone for that. Lineker's been in so much hot water for his weight, and that's why it's such a shame to see that he didn't make it either. But that's what it is. These fighters, if they're trying to fight too low, I don't think Lineker is fighting too low. I think he's perfect for he's I don't actually I don't know. I think he's fine for bantamweight. I think he's had his problems, and then he had to go up and had to fight at featherweight. And featherweight's probably too big for him. But if bantamweight is too high, but he just keeps missing. I think that's what's so frustrating. And then the fact that he tried to go down to flyweight at all is just crazy. Yeah, that's nuts. So anyway, to sum up, I guess what I was saying there was Lineker have Lineker fight Caraway. That seems to be the logical step. But if he can't make weight, then he's gonna have to fight at 145, and he's just gonna be he's gonna be outsized, and maybe that'll be a wake up call for him to see that he has to make, because none of these guys, there's no excuse ever for not making weight, I suppose is what I'm saying. That's the big thing. All right. What else is there to talk about? There is a shitload. So I was talking about Aldo, I wanted to get out of the UFC. The interesting thing was that's the last thing I want to touch on about Aldo, and then I will move on. Is Aldo doesn't even want the fight versus McGregor now. He said he just doesn't care. He wants to get out, and I think that's very disappointing. But I think that shows someone who's just fed up, and I can understand being fed up. He's done everything. The UFC has made it so difficult for him to get that rematch, and then he's done everything they've said to him, and he still hasn't got it. So he wants to be out. Looking into the women's bantamweight division now, because it's come out. Some fans of Juliana Pena have been hitting Dana White up on Twitter, asking why she doesn't why she hasn't got any fights coming up, and he's come out to say that she has been turning him down. So that's interesting. If that's true, and I don't think in this case Dana White has any reason to tell fibs. That's really interesting, because this bantamweight division is starting to really chock up too for the girls. Interestingly, Amanda Nunes still doesn't have an opponent after she choked out Miesha Tate in the first round to win the bantamweight championship. The bantamweight division at the moment is quite funny, because it's not like ha funny, just funny weird, I suppose is a better way to put it. Because no one can seem to hold on to the title. Holm won it, then lost it. Tate won it, then lost it, and now Amanda Nunes has it, but she hasn't defended it yet. So it seems to be in this bantamweight division, if you can't defend your title, then you don't really hold it, and it'll just move on to the next person. Shevchenko beat Holm. And I think the understanding was that if Holm beat Shevchenko, and this was a couple of months ago, then she would probably get the next shot at Nunes. And then I guess we continue this circle around. And then I guess if Holm beats Nunes, which is a good chance she will, then Holm will fight Tate again. Or something like that. We'll move around like that. So it's strange. But speaking of the bantamweight division, this is the other interesting thing. Why are we still hoping for Cyborg versus Ronda Rousey? Do we think it's ever going to happen? Do we think Ronda Rousey's ever going to return? I mean, I know. Okay, so the rumors so far, I am aware of them too, that she'll be back for that New Year's Eve card. It's actually not New Year's Eve. It's the day before. It's December 30th, which is my birthday, in case you were wondering. will it be against Cyborg? Probably not. Um, I think it's gonna be interesting to see when Rousey comes back to see if she wants to make 135. I think that'll be the big decider. I don't know what her cut was like to 135. It didn't seem like she never seemed like it was particularly hard, but she's been walking around a lot bigger, which is nothing too strange. But whether maybe she'll feel more comfortable fighting at 140, allow that super fight with Cyborg. But I don't know if Cyborg can cut down to 140 anymore. Excuse me, I don't know if Cyborg can cut down to 140 anymore. Because she just looks shit every time. And this last fight last week in Brazil, where she had to cut 25 to 30 pounds in a week, is just that's crazy. That's going to absolutely fuck your body if you keep doing that over and over again. And I know that's the only way that she can get fights in the UFC, and she wants to be in the UFC, and that's cool. Like, kudos to her, but you can't keep doing that shit. That is no good for you. Rumour has it that the UFC is doing a featherweight division. Sorry, not featherweight. Flyweight division for the ladies. So maybe they can do a featherweight division as well. The problem is, this is going to be too late for Cyborg, I think. If we ever do finally see this Cyborg versus Rousey fight, which we've been hoping for 5 years? 6 years? 5 or 6 years. Cyborg's gonna be she's gonna be on the way out before it comes. So Rousey's now been out of the game for a year. She's not gonna take Cyborg as her return fight. Like, no one would. I mean, you know what? If Rousey doesn't want to fight Cyborg because she genuinely thinks that she's gonna get her ass handed to her, then maybe that's a good reason not to take the fight. I don't think anyone would judge it. I mean, we saw what Cyborg did to Lena Landsberg last week, so that's crazy. But the UFC keeps hinting at this flyweight division. Joanna Jędrzejczyk was on Ariel Helwani's The MMA Hour yesterday, saying that there'd been hints about the flyweight, and she wants to hold two division titles as well, which is all the rage now apparently. I think she could definitely do it, but if they're going to do that one, then why don't they do the featherweight division too? Completely cut out that, then that is your women's division done. We've seen a massive evolution in women's MMA in the last 3 years since we started staging the fights. So there's depth definitely in the bantamweight division. Strawweight, maybe not so much, but that is a year or so behind the bantamweight division, and we saw the leaps and bounds that happened in the bantamweight over that year. I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that the strawweight will be well ahead of where it is this time next year. I think it'll be a much bigger division, a much more exciting division. Yeah. So if that's going there, so why not start off the flyweight and the featherweight? There's a bunch of girls in strawweight, and there's a bunch of girls in bantamweight that are going to want to drop down to flyweight. Flyweight is the easy division to start. There's a lot of girls floating around in there. 115 is a big cut, so especially if you work around 130, because if you're 130, which seems to be quite a normal kind of weight for these girls, you can make the cut to 115, but going up to 135 is too much. So the 125 is definitely a is definitely a potential. The harder weight class is going to be the featherweight. Because I mean, Joanne Calderwood as well. Joanne Calderwood at flyweight probably would be the champion. Like, let her, if she can take on Joanna Jędrzejczyk at 125, and they're both going to do it. I think she has every chance of being the champion. The only problem is we saw her defense against the ground in her last fight, and that's a big thing. But against someone like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and also carrying a bit of extra weight and looking a little bit more comfortable, I think she's there's definitely a chance there for her. The featherweight's the problem. And then you're going to have the same problem that Invicta had at featherweight as well, which was once Cyborg was the champion at featherweight at Invicta, she's not letting go of that title. It's interesting to see. Like she keeps saying she wants to go back to Invicta to go and defend her title. So, I mean, that'd be cool if she can go and do that one. I think we'd love to see that. I think we just love. I like to see champions defend their titles, and it just seems to be a very weird thing. That's the thing with this McGregor Alvarez fight as well. Number one, why is Alvarez taking this fight? So he's got nothing to gain, everything to lose. I mean, yes, he gains cash. That's cool. So maybe that's why he's doing the fight. That's probably why he's doing the fight. But if he loses his title. If he wins, he does not get another title. This isn't boxing where you've got a WBA title and this title and that title. He's not going to have anything. And McGregor keeps fighting these upper ones knowing that he can't lose that title. So that's going to be, I think that'll be a very similar one if we do have the flyweight division as well. With the ladies. If Joanna Jędrzejczyk can get the flyweight title as well, I think she might be very difficult to beat. But it's just what opportunities present, I suppose. I think that's the big thing. Excuse me. So I think that's the news on that one. All right. So this weekend we have got UFC 204. It's coming from Manchester, so it's going to be weird times for all these fights, but not for the rest of the world, from what I understand. From what I understand, they're setting it up so it's the normal time in the US, which means it'll be the normal time here. So it's just, I guess it's the normal time in the UK, but like you don't go to the event at 4 in the morning. You know, you might roll out of bed and turn the TV on at 4 in the morning. Anyway, there's a good card. So, I mean, before I finish up, I'd just like to have a look at that 204 card real quick, eh? See what's on there. I mean, we've got Bisping and Henderson, which is obviously the main event for the middleweight championship. That's a rematch of their fight in Australia a couple of years ago, where Bisping got completely laid out. But it's just, what else do we have? So we got Vitor Belfort versus Gegard Mousasi. Now the interesting thing for Gegard Mousasi is he beat Dan Henderson recently. In this division, it doesn't really seem like that matters too much. Just because Michael Bisping, Dan Henderson was the fight no one really asked for. No, it wasn't really fair. It wasn't really ranked. And that middleweight division is another one that's starting to get really chockers towards that end. Especially Yoel Romero, Chris Weidman, Rockhold, and the likes. Also with the Vitor Belfort, Gegard Mousasi fight. That was a fight that was booked a few years ago that I think Belfort pulled out of. You've also got Stefan Struve fighting on there. Ovin St. Preux. Some really cool fights. Platinum Mike Perry is fighting on the UFC Fight Pass. Bling bling Mike Perry. That'll be interesting to see if he can continue his form on. The problem with Mike Perry is I think everyone will be really happy to see him get knocked the fuck out. So I think he's hilarious while he's winning, and I think everyone's like, yeah, we'll get behind my Platinum Perry. But the second he gets knocked out, say he loses 2 on the row, I think we forget about him. Kicking off the prelims, going to Albert Turmanov, David Grant of Ultimate Fighter fame. So there's some good fights on that card. It's not great. Or a yeah. So looking forward to that. All right, my friends. I reckon we might wrap this one up. Hey. Thank you very much for stopping by again. Sorry I was a little bit late. I'll do my best. I've been playing around with a new microphone too, so hopefully that'll be cool. It'll be a bit louder for you. But yeah, just let me know what you think. You can hit me up on Twitter. That's at Dave MMA. On the Facebook, facebook.com/MMA online, because someone took MMA. MMA.com. You can put comments and shit all on there, and I'll give a breakdown of all the articles and all that kind of stuff that we're doing as well. But yeah, I suppose thank you very much for thank you very much for joining me. I hope you're all looking forward to the fights coming up this weekend. I will be. If you're watching it in the UK or you're actually going live, why don't you let me know what it's like being in arena like 4 a.m. watching the fights. Because that seems very straight. Obviously, being on this side of the world, when we have our fights that are done for the same time, we rock up at like 11 o'clock in the morning. Again, it's a little bit weird. Like everyone's kind of drinking coffee and kind of warming up, but I imagine everyone's gonna be pissed by the time fucking even the main card starts. Especially if you start drinking for the fight pass prelims, because that's gonna be like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. So like, if you're gonna be drinking, you'll probably have started by then, I suppose. Yeah. What else? We got Aldo's out forever. That's disappointing. Let me just think about that one. If you reckon you can find a better way to get Caraway to fight someone better than Lineker, let me know too. Yeah. If you want your thoughts on the show, if you want to have a chat or anything, hit me up. We'll try and sort something out. Alright guys, thank you for joining me. It was Yay Day. We were all celebrating. Now we are celebrated out. Hit me up. Always in contact. Have an awesome time, my friends. Thank you very much for joining me.